All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about Cam Heyward, his comments on Russell Wilson joining the Steelers. So he was on the Rich Eisen's show and talked about Russ. And this is a couple of things that he had to say. And this is courtesy of an article from CBSSports.com. So he said, You just look for the leadership for a guy that has been in Seattle and won games. Won a Super Bowl already, didn't have the best time in Denver, but I think he's a hungry guy that is ready to prove people wrong. We have so many great weapons. Some of them are younger. Having a more established guy who has been through it is going to benefit the group. I think it could be a blend of both. I think he can have a balanced game and excel. Not many people beat Patrick Mahomes last year, but Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos did. I know it's not one guy that gets it done, but Russ has done it in this game and knows how to beat top competition. So, yeah, it is true. Russell Wilson did beat Patrick Mahomes. I know people forget, but he did do that last year. Actually, the Broncos played the Chiefs tough last year. I mean, even the first game. I mean, the final score was, 19-8? And I took the Broncos in my spread pool, and they were covering because if you remember, Sutton caught that one-handed touchdown, right? They reviewed it, and it was a touchdown, and then they got the two-point conversion, and they were covering. And then the Chiefs got into field goal range. Butker kicked the field goal, and the Chiefs backdoored it, and I ended up losing that game. But that's a separate thing. So, Cam Heyward is positive about Russell Wilson joining the Chiefs. But, for some people, they're not really expecting that much out of Russ. Also, the other thing I want to touch upon, and this was a comment on one of my videos. This was a Steelers topic from the other day. And this is from Choose Carefully 408, who's been commenting on a lot of things on our videos. Not just mine, but many others as well. Because this was, I talked about Russell Wilson and him, and the Steelers' initial plans were keep Kenny Pickett, have Russell Wilson mentor Kenny Pickett. So I just wanted to read this comment as well. So this is what he said. This is Choose Carefully 408. So he said, everyone knows that Russell Wilson does not speak to his teammates. This is off the field as well as on it. This bizarre idea that he will mentor anyone is 100% a fiction made up by Steelers fans. Russ will save us, then Fields will learn from him and take over. Oh, well, this is now with Fields. Is an infantile fantasy based on him being on their team, not based on anything that'll happen. I hope they get Boyd because they need more than Pickens. Oh, yeah, this is also the Tyler Boyd stuff, too. I can only imagine the holdup is the price because he's the only receiver currently available that can impact this offense. So all the negotiating power with the Steelers is his. But Watkins and Jefferson were available for other reasons, and no one wants them to be even their number 3. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. This team has no depth anywhere. They need a Boyd and one more half-decent receiver. Well, I don't know if I would say they have no depth anywhere. But that is true, though, because they did bring in Van Jefferson and Quez Watkins, who Van Jefferson was previously with the Falcons. Before that, the Rams. Quez Watkins was with the Eagles. So the Steelers, they signed him because, yeah, they need receivers right now because they traded Deontay Johnson. But you have Cam Heyward, who talks about Russell Wilson and leadership, and then you also have Choose Carefully commenting that Russ doesn't really have, a relationship with his teammates, with some of them. And I think both things are true in a way. It's just kind of strange how when Russell Wilson went to Denver, you had so many things coming out about him, and especially with him having his own office and things like that. It just was very strange. And especially all the memes with the Broncos country, let's ride stuff. Because Russell Wilson with Seattle, everybody loved him, and he was looked at as a leader. And you saw that on the playoff runs with Seattle, going to the Super Bowl. It just seemed like Russ was a leader, and that kind of took a knock once he went to Denver. Because, you even saw players yelling at him on the sidelines, too. Not just Sean Payton yelling at him. It was this was not good for the Russell Wilson brand the last couple of years. But 2023, 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. You look at that, you're like, yeah, it's a good season. So he did kind of, in a way, have a bounce-back season. And at one point, the Broncos, well, first, they looked like they were going to have one of the worst records in the NFL. Then it looked like, oh, maybe they'll find their way into the playoffs. And then it just ended up not happening, and Jarrett Stidham ended up taking over as the starter. But 2023 was better for Russ. But collectively, his stint in Denver was not great. So he's looking to bounce back. And Cam Heyward saying he's hungry, that he's, maybe we're going to see the Russ from Seattle. I've been saying all along, I don't know if we're going to see that, because last 2 years in Denver, although 2023 was decent, there's still some things you got to look at and say, yeah, I don't think we're getting that Russ. And with the Steelers, Cam Heyward talks about the weapons. You got George Pickens, you got Pat Freiermuth. They traded Deontay Johnson. They need to bring in another receiver or two. I did say Tyler Boyd to the Steelers is a long shot, according to the article I was looking at. But they got to look at the draft. That's definitely where they're going to address the position, is drafting a receiver. Because you need somebody else besides George Pickens. And again, I love the duo. Well, I shouldn't say I love, but I like the duo of Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. But you need receivers. So Cam Heyward talks about all the weapons they have. Well, you got George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth in terms of, throwing the ball. But that's kind of it. I don't think Van Jefferson and Quez Watkins are going to scare people. So you do have Calvin Austin as well. He made a couple of plays for them last year. But you need somebody else. Now, for me, with the Steelers, I think they're going to be decent, because that's just how it is with them, is they find a way to make the playoffs, and, well, they end up losing, but they've been able to make it in. They could have made it in 2022. They finished 9-8, but they fell just short of that. But with Mike Tomlin as the head coach, teams find a way to make it. How many times do I talk about what happened with them in 2023? The quarterback changes, and somehow finding a way in, still losing to the Bills, but they found a way in. And now, with a completely different quarterback room, with Russell Wilson, with Justin Fields, and they're backed by one of the best defenses in the NFL, with arguably the best defensive player in the NFL in T.JWatt, the Steelers could find a way in this loaded AFC. But for me, again, it's going to be through the wild card, because I look at the Ravens as being a better team. I look at the Bengals as being a better team if they're healthy Joe Burrow. Then it's between you and the Browns, which I put them on the same level. I put those two teams on the same level. They split last year. So, we'll see what happens in 2024, and again, that doesn't mean, the teams are bad. This division is loaded. How many times have I said that? It's a gauntlet of a division in a gauntlet of a conference. But I think the best way for the Steelers to make the playoffs is through the wild card. And Russell Wilson's the starter. They've made that known. And Justin Fields is going to sit behind him. So, we'll see what happens. But Cam Heyward's at least positive about it. Thinks that this could be a good move for the Steelers, and expect good things out of Russ. We'll see. And, I don't think we're going to see Russ put up numbers like he did in Seattle. But the Steelers always find a way. And we'll see if they find a way once again in 2024. Also got to make sure you guys on defense stay healthy too, because T.J. Watt's like the quarterback of the defense. Not like, is the quarterback of the defense. And when he's not playing, the Steelers are a different team. So I think the Steelers are going to be, they'll finish with a decent record because that's just what they do. But we'll see if it's enough to make the playoffs. And we'll see if Justin Fields takes the field at all. Or is Russ going to basically be the starter from start to finish? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, something to keep an eye on. But Cam Heyward's positive. So we'll see. I mean, again, that doesn't mean that Russell Wilson's going to go out there and play at an MVP type level. But at least you have a player on the team that says, you know what, this guy's played in big games. He knows what it takes. It didn't really work out in Denver. But now with this change of scenery, let's see what he can do. Yeah, you get traded to the Broncos. Nathaniel Hackett's a first-time head coach. I mean, you thought with the talent that the Broncos had, at least at that time, that it didn't matter. They were going to be a good team, but it just didn't pan out. The offense struggled. Russ struggled. They had a rough season. Sean Payton comes in. Sean Payton wasn't a Russell Wilson fan. So that wasn't going to work. Even though at one point you thought, oh, the Broncos might make the playoffs. Now he's with the Steelers. And let's see. And the Steelers are a team that finds a way. So let me know what you guys think, though, about Cam Heyward's comments. Do you guys think that Russell Wilson could maybe turn back the clock in 2024 and go out there and play to how he did with Seattle? Or is it going to be kind of more of the same with the Broncos? Which, again, that's something I kind of lean towards. But again, still think the Steelers have a chance to make the playoffs. Maybe win a playoff game. Maybe. Because they haven't done that in a long time. It's not since 2016 when they beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. And Chris Boswell kicked 6 field goals. I know I brought that up on a previous show, but bringing it up again. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about this, what Cam Heyward had to say. So we're going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about Justin Fields' old team. We'll talk about the Bears, talk about Matt Eberflus, his excitement over not just the number 1 overall pick, but also the number 9 overall pick, and what the Bears could potentially do at that selection. So, with that being said, for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.